This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Friday, February 26th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of coronavirus, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. We begin in East Africa, where hundreds of buildings have been burned around a town in Ethiopia's conflict-hit northern Tigray region, according to a security research organization that analyzed satellite images. David Doyle reports.
Fires that appear to have been deliberately started destroyed more than 500 structures this week in and around Ethiopia's Gijet town, analysis of satellite imagery has shown, adding credence to reports of continued conflict in parts of the northern Tigray region. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government declared victory over the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front at the end of November. But according to residents and United Nations assessments, sporadic clashes continue. The government has acknowledged isolated incidents of shooting, but says most fighting has stopped. Private satellite operator Planet Labs collected images on Sunday and Tuesday around Gijet and 3 nearby settlements, 22 miles southwest of the regional capital Mekelle. They were analysed by UK-based security research organisation DX Open Network. It said the images showed at least 508 structures appear to have been destroyed by fire over the 3-day period, citing the blackening of earth and vegetation, ash circles that are indicative of roof collapse, and debris from collapsed walls and ceilings. DX said the absence of fire clusters or scorch marks connecting burnt structures made it unlikely the fires were accidental. Numerous fires were detected in the area on Monday, according to a NASA service. Mulu Nega, head of Tigray's government-appointed interim administration, said a team had been sent to the area to investigate. Both sides in the Tigray conflict have accused each other of abuses and denied responsibility for carrying them out. People in the area could not be reached by phone, communications to Tigray remain patchy, and the government tightly controls media access. The Prime Minister's spokeswoman and the head of the government's Tigray task force did not respond to messages seeking comment, and Reuters has been unable to reach TPLF officials since early December.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. A new report by Amnesty International details the systematic killing of hundreds of civilians on the 28th and 29th of November by Eritrean troops in the historic city of Axum in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Gathering information from interviews with more than 40 survivors and witnesses of the attack, as well as others with knowledge of the events, Amnesty collected consistent accounts of looting, indiscriminate shelling, and extrajudicial killings. The human rights group says it may amount to a crime against humanity. VOA's Salem Solomon spoke to the author of the report, Jean-Baptiste Gallopin.
The massacre took place in retaliation for an attempt by a small group of pro-TPLF fighters to attack an Eritrean base on a mountain in the middle of the city. And in retaliation for this attack, Eritrean forces shot wantonly at civilians and killed, we believe, hundreds of people over the course of roughly 24 hours. They also went around carrying house-to-house searchers and dragging mostly men out of their homes and shooting them on the streets or killing them in their homes. So this is really the main finding of our research. We've also documented indiscriminate shelling during the attack on the city by the joint Ethiopian and Eritrean forces on the 19th of November. As well as arbitrary mass detentions by Eritrean forces of civilians in the aftermath of the massacre, with clear threats to resume the killing in the event of new resistance. And we've also documented widespread and seemingly systematic looting by Eritrean forces of civilian property.
Until now, there hasn't been really confirmation about who the perpetrators are. You mentioned the trigger of this massacre that you're talking about. Did I hear you say Eritrean base in the Tigray region?
Yes, so after the joint force of Ethiopian and Eritrean soldiers entered the city on the 19th of November, Eritrean soldiers set up a base in a school which on this mountain which overlooks a city called Maikuho, and this is where the fighting took place in the morning of the 28th of November, and it's unclear how long the fighting started, but witnesses describe very trained Eritrean soldiers routing the fighters on the other side. Many actually men from Axum joined the fight with sticks and rocks and were shot with through sniper rifles and machine guns.
What is the government of Ethiopia saying about this? Has there been any admission and action? You mentioned also about looting. One of the key information that we've been learning is that humanitarian food has been either looted or not being able to pass through to get to vulnerable people. If you could share a little bit about who is actually looting humanitarian aid and why is it not getting into the hands of vulnerable people who are basically, on the verge of starvation.
So we've shared our findings. We shared our findings with the Ambassador Redwan Hussein, the State Minister of Foreign Affairs. And at the time of writing, we hadn't received a response. We still haven't received a response from the Ethiopian government. So we don't know what the Ethiopian government has done to address these abuses. To address the question of looting, the looting, as I mentioned, was widespread and systematic. Eritrean forces looted hotels, factories, homes, government buildings, hospitals, shops, storage of food, and they also looted all sorts of objects, machinery, including water pumps and, bakery equipment and generators. They looted, cooking oil, lentils, flour. They looted valuables in, jewelry shops. They looted medication in the hospitals, according to witnesses. So it was very widespread and systematic. And so we call on UN-led investigation into these crimes. As you know, in international humanitarian law, indiscriminate attacks and deliberate attacks on civilians are war crimes. And the shelling, so the shelling of the city in the initial attack would fit these definitions. And in international humanitarian law, when attacks against civilians are widespread and systematic, they're crimes against humanity. And it seems pretty clear from the witnesses that the attack on civilians on the 28th and the 29th of November by Eritrean forces was a deliberate attempt to subdue any resistance in the city by terrorizing the population. And another evidence for that is the mass detention of civilians by the Eritrean forces in the aftermath of the massacre, and the very explicit threat that Eritrean officers made of renewing the killing in the events of new resistance. So we call on the UN-led investigation into these events. We also call on the Ethiopian government to grant unfettered access to Tigray, not only to humanitarian organizations, but also to human rights and media organizations.
That was Amnesty International's Jean-Baptiste Gallopin speaking to VOA's Salem Solomon. In Nigeria, unidentified gunmen kidnapped a number of schoolgirls from the town of Jangbe in northwest state of Zamfara early on Friday, according to the state spokesman. This is the second such kidnapping in little over a week. It was not immediately clear how many children had been seized. The officials said the kidnapping took place about midnight. Last week, unidentified gunmen killed a student in an overnight attack on a boarding school in the north-central state of Niger and kidnapped 42 people, including 27 students. The hostages are yet to be released. Niger's former president, Mahamane Usman, has declared himself the winner of a recent election in defiance of the national official results. Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori has our report.
Opposition supporters have burned barricades and clashed with riot police in Niger's capital as former President Mohamed Ousmane declared himself the winner of an election on Sunday in defiance of the official results. On Tuesday, the Election Commission said ruling party candidate Mohamed Bazoum was victorious with more than 55% of the vote. But Ousmane says he won with 50.3% to 40.7% for Bazoum and called on his supporters to mobilize. On Wednesday, police were seen beating protesters with fists and batons in streets strewn with rocks and abandoned goods carts. An observer mission from the Economic Community of West African States said the vote was held under free, fair, credible, and transparent conditions. The election is intended to usher in Niger's first democratic transition of power, with President Mahamadou Issoufou stepping down after 2 5-year terms. The election results still need to be certified by the Constitutional Court. Vincent Makori, VOA News.
Somali opposition leaders have agreed to postpone a protest over election delays originally planned for Friday. Last week, protests between government troops and opposition supporters left at least 3 dead. The government said it supported the right to protest and that it would work with opposition leaders to plan a safe and peaceful demonstration in 10 days' time. Lawmakers were due to select a new president on February 8th, but the process was delayed after the opposition accused President Abdoulaye Mohamed, who is seeking a second term, of packing regional and national electoral boards with supporters. Italy on Thursday held a state funeral for its ambassador to the Democratic Republic of Congo and his bodyguard killed in an ambush that a cardinal said should prompt everyone to hear the cry over people devastated by violence. Sarr Ali reports.
Italy held a state funeral for its ambassador to Democratic Republic of Congo and his bodyguard on Thursday, who were killed in an ambush along with their driver. The men were kidnapped while traveling in a United Nations World Food Programme convoy in eastern Congo. Ambassador Luca Attanesio, his bodyguard Vittoria Iacovacci, and WFP driver Mustafa Milambo were all killed. The Italian funeral was attended by Prime Minister Mario Draghi at a church used for services for national leaders and cultural figures. The caskets, draped in the Italian flag, were given a military salute as they were removed from the hearses. Cardinal Angelo De Donatis said the death should prompt everyone to hear the cry of the people of Congo, cruelly devastated by violence, as it sees its sons and daughters die every day. There are around 120 armed groups operating in eastern Congo, and the country's interior ministry has blamed a Rwandan ethnic Hutu rebel militia called the FDLR for this attack. The group has denied responsibility for what it called a cowardly assassination. Italian investigators have flown to Congo to liaise with the police, and Italian prosecutors are expected to open a full investigation when they return.
That was Sarr Ali of Reuters reporting. We would like to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, a new music video released by South Africa's Ndlovu Youth Choir, We Will Rise. We'll be right back.
We're bringing women's voices to the conversation, and more than that, we're building a community of inclusion and empowerment.
Here in Kinshasa, campaigns to raise awareness against the spread of coronavirus are common, but getting that information to people who have no access to water, electricity, or money can be a challenge.
We are here at Kalerwe Market in Uganda, Kampala, where in this whole market, women are crying out for their situations to change.
For women, it will be better for us.
I think a big thing for me is just being able to say that when these protests are happening, does it turn around into policy?
Our kids are raped every single
This movement got the governments to listen. It really was powerful because it showed what is possible when men and women band together and say, enough is enough.
It's not necessary anymore to climb on a car. I can be in any place to cheer with the people.
Welcome back to Africa 54. As countries kick off vaccination campaigns in Africa amid mistrust over COVID-19 vaccine efficacy, health ministers are among the first ones to take the shots. VOA's Mariama Diallo reports on Senegal and Zimbabwe, two countries that began inoculating their populations using Sinopharm, the Chinese-made COVID-19 vaccine.
Senegal received 200,000 doses of the Chinese-made COVID-19 vaccine last week and started vaccinating on Tuesday. Health Minister Abdoulaye Sarr was the first in line to mark what he called a historic day.
Senegal is one of 7 countries among the 54 countries of the African continent to start the vaccination against COVID-19.
Priorities include healthcare workers, people over 60, and those with underlying health conditions. Sarr says in addition to the Chinese vaccine, the country is also looking at other possibilities to increase their stock.
The head of state is now finalising talks with Russia to enable us to soon receive the Sputnik V. During the month of March, Senegal will also receive its first batch of the COVAX initiative.
Senegal is due to receive nearly 1.3 million vaccine doses through the World Health Organization-led COVAX initiative, which deployed a batch of 600,000 in Ghana this week, as part of a first wave of coronavirus vaccines being sent to a number of low- and middle-income countries. In Zimbabwe, Vice President Constantino Chiwenga, also the country's health minister, volunteered for the first Chinese-made vaccine as well. Amid reports of public mistrust over vaccine safety, Chiwenga said his ministry had done its homework.
My ministry conducted all scientific processes to ascertain the efficacy of Sinopharm vaccine, which was confirmed to be 79%.
Zimbabwe received 200,000 doses from the Sinopharm vaccine as a donation from the Chinese government. Another 600,000 doses purchased by Zimbabwe are expected to arrive early next week, according to government officials. Vaccine recipient Michael Chideme says he's relieved to have taken the shot, but
taking the jab does not mean I will not get the disease if I don't practice caution. But I'll be extra cautious, but I'm happy I've taken the jab.
Zimbabwe, like many other African countries, initially recorded low coronavirus numbers in the first months of the pandemic, but subsequently saw cases go up. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Kenya's first batch of COVID-19 vaccines will arrive in the first week of March, according to a statement from the presidency. Healthcare workers, frontline workers, and vulnerable population groups will be given priority. The statement did not reveal details of the type of vaccines or the quantity of the doses that will arrive next month. In January, the health ministry said that it was seeking an extra 11 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines on top of 24 million already ordered that it plans to source from major pharmaceutical manufacturers like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. The extra doses will be acquired through the African Union's disease control and prevention body. U.S. President Joe Biden commemorated on Thursday the 50 millionth shot of the COVID-19 vaccine since his swearing in just days after the nation passed 500,000 coronavirus deaths. White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has this report.
President Joe Biden on Thursday celebrated the pace of his administration's effort to vaccinate Americans, hitting 50 million shots in 37 days, half of his target of 100 million shots in 100 days.
We're moving in the right direction, though, despite the mess we inherited from the previous administration.
More than 45 million Americans have been given at least one dose of the approved Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, with more than 20 million receiving both doses. A third vaccine is also nearing approval.
If the FDA approves the use of this new vaccine, we have a plan to roll it out as quickly as Johnson & Johnson can make it.
Unlike the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, Johnson & Johnson's does not need to be stored in ultra-cold temperatures and can be given as a single dose. The company said it can deliver 20 million doses by the end of March. Biden said by April or May, there may be more vaccines than Americans who want them because of vaccine hesitancy. The administration is planning to launch a campaign to combat disinformation about the shots.
This epidemic of misinformation is also rampant in those populations that we need to target the most. And this includes African American and Latino populations, where there is a historic hesitance and mistrust of the formal health system due to decades of abuse and poor treatment of these minority groups.
Biden also met virtually with the nation's governors on plans to speed up distribution even further.
The single most important thing after ensuring supply that the federal government can do is to standardize reporting. So it's clear in every state exactly what's happening. What percentage of people are getting vaccinated each week? What proportion of white, black, Latinx, Asian, Native American, Alaskan Native and American Indian populations are vaccinated, and how that compares with the statewide population. What gets measured can get managed. Right now, we're flying blind.
Despite encouraging news, this week the U.S. surpassed 500,000 coronavirus-related deaths, which Biden marked with a candle-lighting ceremony and a moment of silence at the White House. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
In our entertainment segment, the Ndlovu Youth Choir of South Africa has been active since 2009, but it really got its wings in 2019 when its popularity soared on America's Got Talent. Heather Maxwell, host of Music Time in Africa, joined two of the leading choristers earlier this week in a virtual conversation to find out more about their latest music video release, We Will Rise. She sought to find out how they are coping with the lockdown on international travel that so abruptly curtailed their careers 1 year ago.
Joining me now from Limpopo province are two choristers. We have Sandile and Lungelo. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Let's just get your self-introductions. What is your full name? How old are you? And how long have you been with the choir?
Well, I'll start. I know it's ladies first, but I'll start. Yeah, I'm Sandile Majola, and I'm 26 years of age. I've been with the choir since 2009, before it became professional.
I am Lungelo Masango. I've been with the choir since 2015. I think it's been 6 years. Yeah.
All right, so let's watch a little bit of We Will Rise, and then we'll come back and talk about it some more.
When you wonder if the sky will fall and your head can stop spinning around, when everything is tumbling down and you're scared.
Okay, now this is a beautiful music video, very inspiring, but it's just one of many videos that you guys have put out. So how is this one different than all of the other visual performances you've done?
This one is different because it came out on a very difficult time, as we are all facing this pandemic right now. And the message that we wanted to send out was that we will rise above whatever that we're facing right now.
What about all the costuming? You've got a clown in there, you have showgirls, you have all kinds of different costumes. What's going on there?
We were displaying the different kind of people in the entertainment industry. Yeah. So we wanted people to understand that we're talking about the entertainment industry as a whole, not just choir, the people who sing, the people who dance too and do theater shows and stuff like that.
Chefs, crew members, everyone that has their work on hold during this pandemic and couldn't do what they love.
I read too that when you started Sandile, you had no musical experience or background whatsoever. Is that true?
No musical experience whatsoever. Didn't even know how to play those drums. Nothing.
So how did you get into the choir? How did you get into the choir?
I had the voice that I could sing, but it still needed some training, and I still needed a lot of training.
I notice you're performing in an auditorium that has empty seats in the background. At one point in the middle, the curtains open, and you know, it's empty.
It really is empty, and that's the life right now.
Yeah.
How has the choir shaped your lives?
It has shaped our lives in different ways. It has given us all voices. It has hope, dreams. It has given us a space to dream and to feel that if you can dream it, you can be it, you can do it. The stages that we've been, the people that we always looked up to, we are now working with them. We are now amongst the greatest people that we've always seen on TV.
What's up next? What are you guys planning? I'm sure you're all waiting for your vaccines to come in there and have an effect. Hopefully 2021 will bring us some relief. Are you already planning for what you're going to do when you can actually have wings again and fly?
Doing shows. We are owing a lot of people a lot of shows, and so this pandemic has just hit us so bad that we had a lot planned, and we're just gonna take it from where we land, and we just cannot wait.
I cannot wait.
We're tired of performing for cameras.
We're tired of performing for empty chairs and stuff like that. We're not.
Yeah, so we miss people.
We miss people.
You know, exchanging energies. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Heather, for that wonderful musical selection. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.